Biden over the weekend in Warsaw, trying to rally our NATO allies and establish a coalition to stop this war in Ukraine. The Russian war of aggression continues on, but it wasn't, from a diplomatic and messaging point of view, anything near the slick and established Joe Biden that some had pretended we'd see on the international scene. No, instead, Joe Biden had a number of major gaffes, the kind of gaffes that people would, under a different president, say President Trump, really worry about and make a whole lot of noise about how it could have even started World War III. There'd be hysteria all across the media. Let's just start with some of what Joe Biden's saying here. And this all goes, let's remind ourselves, to the fact that this is a guy who is too old for the job, should not have been put in this position, is not of sound enough mind to be the president of the United States. But they won't talk about the 25th Amendment with Joe like they did with Trump, of course. Here's Joe Biden saying that NATO would respond in kind to a chemical weapon attack in Ukraine from Russia. Watch this.
To clarify on chemical weapons, if chemical weapons were used in Ukraine, would that trigger a military response from NATO?
It would trigger a response in kind. Whether or not you're asking whether NATO would cross, we'd make that decision at the time.
Now, look, I get it. He probably meant to say, I would assume he meant to say, a proportionate response to the usage of chemical weapons in Ukraine. But it's important that Joe Biden get this stuff right. He is, for better or for worse, I think we see quite clearly, usually for worse, the leader of the free world. He is the commander-in-chief of the most powerful military on the planet. Him saying things like we'd respond to chemical weapons in kind is a blunder that people like Jake Sullivan, the national security advisor, have to spend time clarifying afterwards what the words of the commander-in-chief were supposed to be. Here is Jake Sullivan doing just that.
Biden at the press conference yesterday said that if Russia uses chemical weapons in Ukraine, the United States and NATO will respond in kind, which would seem to imply using chemical weapons back. Is that what he meant by in kind?
You heard him in another answer say we'll respond accordingly, meaning, we will select the form and nature of our response based on the nature of the action Russia takes. And we'll do so in coordination with our allies. And we've communicated to the Russians, as the president said publicly a couple of weeks ago, that there will be a severe price if Russia uses chemical weapons.
Okay, so clean up on aisle, oh my God. That was the first one. There'll be more of that coming up here in a moment. Remember, Joe Biden has been sold to the American public as a candidate for many years now as a steady hand. He is a tried and true, a tested member of the foreign policy elite. That's what they say. In reality, Joe Biden is a guy who's neither intellectually nor ethically particularly impressive, doesn't have a grasp of world affairs or even of the good guys and bad guys, that gut instinct sense that would be useful at a moment like this. No, instead, Joe Biden just says the usual platitudes. And then when he goes off script and adds in something of his own, it gets messy. Joe Biden here was telling troops in Poland that they're going to see women and young people standing in the middle, in the front of a damn tank saying, I'm not leaving. Watch this one.
And you're going to see when you're there, and some of you have been there, you're going to see women, young people standing in the middle of front of a damn tank, just saying, I'm not leaving. I'm holding my ground. They're incredible.
Okay, yet again, because these are some of the major concerns we have in this moment about how the U.S. responds to the situation in Ukraine. You have Biden saying, you will see. Now, this one was a little bit more of a context issue, I think. You say Joe Biden saying, you will see on TV or in social media or whatever the case may be. But the White House felt the need to clarify because this had to do with U.S. troops in Ukraine, which is a major point of contention and consideration at this point in time. The White House clarified on troops in Ukraine. The president has been clear. We are not sending U.S. troops to Ukraine, and there is no change in that position. Now, that one I'm going to say is the most of the three cleanup on aisle, oh my God moments here. That one was the most mild in the sense that it's understandable. He could say to the military, you would see, but needs to be careful when talking to the military who are currently in Poland and defending NATO allies, that he doesn't seem to suggest that we might be at some point in the near future actually deploying U.S. troops into this war in Ukraine.